sins that people commit, that they're willing to commit to gain the pleasure of the people, are of two types. The first type, either it's an action or a statement of clear disbelief because he wants to please the people. Who has an example of that? Showing off, okay. We're talking about something that person basically will take him out of the whole slap. But he's willing to do this solely because of what? Is it an action or statement? Which one is going to do it? Okay, good. In Jesus' name, I'm going to bust down this chicken. Amen. Okay, play it. All right, anybody else?
They never took shahada, and they were just with those for what they can gain. Meaning in Quran, it say that the people say what out of their mouth what's not in their heart, and they make a statement like they're with the believers, but they're not really with the believers.
Okay. Play it. Anybody else? Musa.
By doing things to the Quran that they shouldn't do.
Play it. I'm gonna give you an example, and I want you to tell me: is this tangible? Something that we see all the time? Let's say there's a kid or a sister. She goes to public school, or he goes to public school. They're hanging out with their friends. The time of Salat comes in. He's hanging out with his friends all day. Friends don't even know that he Muslim. So he misses what? Purposely, he says what? I'm not going to pray what? Dhuhr, Asr, or Maghrib. Because I don't want my friends to do what? Not even that. I want them laughing at me. Because of what? I got to go, Allahu Akbar. They're going to be like, what you doing? So he purposely leaves off the prayer every time he's with these people because he wants to gain what? Their stamp of what? Of approval. So therefore he prefers the pleasure of what? These group of kids over the pleasure of who? Of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same thing. But is not praying, is that an act of kufr? Is that an act of disbelief? But he's doing that what? Because he wants to please other people. Another example. Is this something, but tell me honestly, is this something that happens on a daily basis? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Even adults. Sometimes we might have a job where you don't even want to mention to your supervisor that you have to pray. See what? Nah, I'm going to make Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha when I get home. But you're not even willing to what? To at least admit that, listen, I got to pray. And sometimes we go back to the first hadith. Whoever's willing to try to please Allah at the expense of gaining the anger of the people, not only will Allah become pleased with him, but Allah will cause the what? People become pleased with him. I'll mention a few different examples. You might have a brother, and this happened even to me, where long ago, for an example, I used to work in Target many years ago. All right? And what happened was when I was in New York, I was a new Shahada at the time. Well, yeah, I was a fairly new Shahada. And I was afraid that, man, I just got this job. I'm trying to buy some Jordans and all this other stuff, you know? So I need this job. But I got to pray. So I went to my supervisor. After the first couple days, I said, man, listen, you know, I got to pray. All I need is I'll take my breaks around the salat time, whatever. I won't eat lunch, something like that. But I just need 5 minutes to pray. That's all I need. It's all right, cool. Why didn't you say it before? And then during the time, salat time, I went to the dressing room and I prayed. Not only after that, he respected me afterwards. Because I was what? Listen, I have to pray. I'm not trying to pull your leg or anything like that. You let people go and we'll have their smoke breaks. All I'm asking is what? 5 minutes. But the point is, you have to have enough courage to want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after that, Allah's going to make your affairs easy for you. Alright? I'll give you another example. There was a brother that I knew. There was a particular job that he wanted. And when he went to the interview, The lady who was giving the interview stuck out her hand. And the brother said, listen, I'm Muslim, we don't shake hands with women that's not our wives. She didn't want to hear anything else, and she hired her. The reason being because at that point there was a group of, unfortunately, there was men at the job who were having problems with the women that was there. She said, as for this one, he can't even shake my hand, so I ain't got to worry about him. And she hired her. That's not going to be in every case, obviously, but the point is you have to have enough courage to want to what? Please who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you are willing to do that, for sure you're going to be tested. But if you're willing to please Allah, know for sure that He's going to do what? He's going to bless you. He's going to take care of you. Allah's been taking care of you up until this point. Why is He going to stop taking care of you? Alright? Having said that, also sisters who wear hijab. Sometimes the shaitan will come to them and it would say, listen, take off the hijab because what? That's why you didn't get that job. Let's be honest, right? You hear these type of things. That's why you didn't get that job because what? You wearing what? Hijab. You have to ask yourself, how many non-Muslim women who have degrees who don't wear hijab and still don't have a job? So therefore, it's your shaitan doing what? Whispering and playing with you. But the point is, you have to be willing to what? Sacrifice. And put that love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and Allah is just going to make it easy for you. Alright? So we said the first one is that a person, or the first type of sin that people will commit to please the people are what? Either actions or statements of clear disbelief to gain what? The pleasures of the people. Give me an example of a statement that someone is willing to make a clear statement of disbelief only to gain the pleasure of the people. Musa.
Well, let's say someone is with their friends and he told them that he was Muslim, and then they were playing truth or dare or something like that, and then they dared him to say like he doesn't believe in Allah or something like that, and then he does it, then that's a clear
You truth or dare, you took it back, mashallah. But yeah, okay, yes, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair, Musa, ahsant. Right, he's playing with his friends, and his friend says, listen, I dare you to say something like this. So, if I don't say it, then what? I'm not part of the crowd. So what, he says it. Or a person, even adults, you might be that new shahada, your family doesn't even know you're Muslim yet. You go around your non-Muslim family, and you know how they feel about Muslims, even though they may have the wrong understanding because of what they see on TV and all this other stuff. And they say, you know, I hate Muslims. I do this, so on and so forth. Muslim believe this, that, and the third. Don't you agree with me? How can somebody worship Allah and they pray 5 times a day? They do this, all this other stuff. They just start making ta'an. They attack Islam and Allah and His Messenger. And you like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Islam can't be the truth. So on and so forth. And you take yourself out of the religion trying to do what? Please other people. That's clear? Yes, no? Yes. So therefore, we have people, when it comes to committing sins, you have the first type, that a person is willing to do an action or a statement of clear kufr, only to please, and out of the two types, obviously this is the worst, because this takes a person out of what? Out of Islam. The second one, we're still on the hadith. And the reason why we were explaining it this way, because notice the man put things in its proper perspective. And we started off by saying there's nothing wrong with a person wanting to do something to get the best of both worlds. But notice that the man, he started first, O Messenger of Allah, dullani ala al-amal. Direct me to an action that first I can please Allah, and then after that the people gonna love me. And he didn't say put the people first and then Allah afterwards. Or he didn't say the people will love me and then, you know, I'll work the Allah thing out later. He didn't say that. Okay? So this is why we're explaining it this way. The second thing that a person is willing to do a sin, however, he's gaining the pleasure of the people, but it's not an act of kufr. Okay? It's not an act of clear disbelief. The first one we said what? It's an action or a statement that he or she is willing to do of clear disbelief that will take them out of Islam, but they're not concerned about that. They're concerned about pleasing this person. The second type is what? An action or a statement to gain the pleasure of the people, but it's not an act of what? Of kufr. All right, so give me an example of an action that a person is willing to get a sin. All right, person is willing to commit a sin to gain the pleasure of the people, but he's not showing disbelief in Allah. Musa, you own the money, Musa. Huh?
When you go out with your friends and they're doing, like, let's say, you went to a restaurant.
Went to a restaurant.
Yeah. And then after, then you went to a gas station, and then they're just like, oh, come on, let's rob this store or something, and we'll give you this much money and all of this, and then
Your examples seem a little too real, Musa. I don't know. All right. Play here. Alhamdulillah, that's good. All right. So therefore, he gets peer pressure from his friends. All right. Or again, let's say he's hanging out with his friends, and I'm going to say something. The examples I'm going to give, it may not be that proper, but I'm just giving it for because it's our reality. All right. Especially if we're dealing with the youth. You may have one of the kids. He may be 16, 17. We all have been 16, 17 before. And he's hanging around his friends, and everybody's doing what? Smoking weed. Right? And you're the only Muslim kid. And they don't even call you Muhammad, they call you Mo. Right? Mumu, astaghfirullah. So now, you hanging around with these group of kids, you stand in a circle, then they do what? Pass it to you. Now, you can't smack it down, you can't give it to nobody. Because of what? You gonna mess up the rotation stuff a lot. Come on, you caught me off guard, dog. That's on camera, man. Stuff a lot. All right. So you can't pass. You can't pass it.
Because you're part of it.
Because you're part of it.
Make yourself a part. Yeah.
Right, and you feel, what they gonna say about me? I can't go to school tomorrow. You know how it is when you were 16, 17. You got this big reputation that don't even exist, right? That you gotta keep up because everybody gonna do what?
Talk about.
They gonna talk about it. Ain't nobody talking about it. Nobody even think about you, but it's all in your head. You like Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
So now what happens? You can't pass it. It's like, man, they gonna laugh at me. So you do what? You take a hit. But you're doing that what? To please who?
People.
Please the people. So therefore, going back to the first narration, من التمس رضاء الناس بسخط الله سخط الله عليه وأسخط الله عليه الناس. That whoever is willing to gain that pleasure of the people at the expense of doing what? Gaining the anger of who? Not only will Allah become angry with him, but he will cause the people to do what? So next week, when you stand in that circle again, and they try to do what? You like, nah, man, I'm a Muslim. You a Muslim? What happened? Right? They ain't gonna take you what? They're not gonna take you serious. Especially when you're on this Islam roller coaster. Monday you're a Muslim, Tuesday you're a gang member. Wednesday you something else, and this, that, and the third. You got all these different faces. So no one ever's gonna take you serious. Alright? So that's one example. That person is willing to commit an action commit an action that is a sin, but it's not on the level of what? Disbelief. Right? And that's for the youth. Now let's give an example for the adults. Right? And let's be honest. You might have a job. And the job that you have, they're having what? I don't know. A party. It can be a promotion party. It could be Thanksgiving. It could be Christmas party, whatever. And everybody, listen, it's casual Friday. You can wear regular clothes, you can do whatever you want to do. And they passing around what? Liquor. So your boss passes you what? Go ahead, Habib, get some. Alright? You caught me off guard, so I gotta catch you off guard. Alright? So he passes to Habib. Habib is between a rock and a hard place. Not saying that he would, but just using an example, hope you don't mind. Alright? So now, he's between a rock and a hard place. Man, subhanAllah, I've been trying to get this promotion. And if I tell him no, my boss gonna be like, yo, we having fun, what you doing? No, you don't have the personality for the position. Right? Let's be real, right? These are real issues. So now he does what? He takes a drink because he's trying to do what? Fit in and please the people. At the expense of what? Getting the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only now have you committed a sin, but one who drinks khamr, what? His prayer is not accepted for what? 40 days. So we see that? It's like a snowball effect. Now also, what is an example of a person who is willing to commit a sin? Right? A statement that he will get the pleasure, he will get the pleasure of the people, but he gets the anger of who? Alright, give me an example of a statement. Someone other than Musa. You should be happy, mashallah. Mashallah.
People are like backbiting, you just have to join in because they're like, what do you think about this person?
Sent. Mashallah. Perfect. People are backed by an individual, right? Even though you don't even have that same opinion of the person. You just join the crowd. You jump in on the backbiting too. Because now you don't want to be what? Left out. We can't hang around you no more. You corny. Let's be real. So you're willing to do what? Say an act of kufr, or not act of kufr, commit sins of a statement because you want to please the people. Another thing, for an example, let's say you're hanging around a group of kids, teenager, sitting around with his friends, they all cursing like a sailor. So he's willing to do what? Jump in on what? The cursing. Because what? He wants to fit in. And if I don't use a certain language around these people, I ain't going to be what? I ain't going to be down. So he's willing to do that. That's clear? All right. Also, even for the adults as well, that a person is willing to lie. Right? Even to make the people laugh. Right? Even though he's committing the sin, but he wants to what? The people just to be happy and so on and so forth. So they don't consider that the possibility of getting the anger of Allah. And I know it may sound like these examples are small examples, but this is a reality. Because you have another hadith for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that, "Inna rajula," indeed a man, yatakallam bi kalima. He would say something, and he won't even think about the weight of what he said. And he will view it to be something insignificant anyway. But it's big to who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah will enter him in the hellfire because of it. And vice versa. Indeed, a man, he will make a statement. And this statement, he won't view it to be a big deal, but it's a beautiful statement. But it's big to who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah will give him Jannah because of it. So that which you may seem to be small sometimes is big to Allah. So you want to be mindful. Alright? So real quick, as a quick review before we continue with the rest of the hadith. We said that sins that people are willing to commit to gain the pleasure of the people are of two types. What's the first type?
Action.
What's the first type?
I want to take them out of the kufr.
Right, an action or a statement that would take them out of what? Take them out of the fold of Islam. And that may sound like, man, I would never do something like that. But we gave tangible examples to prove that. People not willing to what? To pray on time. Because, I don't know. You know what I mean? And that was the second example. That a person is willing to do what? Okay, but action or a statement that's not necessarily what? Right, it won't take them out of the fold of Islam, but it's what? It's still a sin. Jameen. Right, so now the Prophet ﷺ, based upon after the man who says, "O Messenger of Allah, direct me to an action, that if I do it, Allah will love me and the people will love me." The Prophet ﷺ, he said, and I gave out the books, he said, abstain from this what? From this world, from this dunya. And stay away from what the people have, meaning their wealth. Allah will love you and what? The people will love you. We want to take it step by step. The first step we want to take is that abstaining from the dunya, what does this mean? Because you have a lot of people, when you talk about zuhud, they feel that I gotta be what? Poor. I gotta have my clothes, I gotta be ripped, and this, that, and the third. This is not what it means. Alright? It's not what it means. As far as zuhud in the dunya, it does not mean you have to walk around with your clothes ripped and things like that to say, you know, I don't have a new iPhone, I'm a Zahid. Right? That's not what it means. So you want to explain what does it mean for a person to what? To abstain from this world. Before we actually do that, I want to talk about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala views the world in the Quran. Alright, so for those who have the smartphones, there's a few surahs I want you to look at. Surah Al-A'la, Al-A'la, wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alright, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions, I think verse number is 17. بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ حَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. Rather you prefer the life of this world over the life of what? The hereafter. And the life of the hereafter is khayr. Now it's better or abqa, and it will remain forever. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala views this world. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only that, I want to mention two statements from the companions and a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ to show about how this world is insignificant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first statement of one of the companions, he used to say, Adam alayhi salam was sent where when he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Huh? Earth. Was that a reward or a punishment? A punishment. So the companions, when they would talk about this dunya, they would remind the people, don't forget, Adam alayhi salam was sent here as a punishment, not as a reward. So when you have this dunya in your head and this is the first thing in front of you, dunya. And once again, there's nothing wrong with having a good job, nothing wrong with having money, there's nothing wrong with having a nice spouse and a nice house and a nice car. There's nothing wrong with these particular things. But when you put this, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ حَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. Rather, you prefer the life of this world over what? Over the hereafter. That's when the issue comes in. Okay? So the companions, they will remind the students, don't forget, Adam alayhi salam was sent here as a punishment, and he was not sent here as a reward, and you're chasing nothing but punishment. Everyone understand that? The second thing, when a person gets married, what does he give the wife? A dowry. The companions, they used to also mention, I want everyone to think about this. The companions, they used to say, when you marry this world, what she wants for her dowry is your religion. You can't have it both ways. I want everyone to really reflect on that. Because when you have this only concern in your head that of dunya, the statement the companions they would say is that when you marry this world, meaning nothing else matters, I don't care about the commandments of Allah. Even if you don't say that verbally, if that's your mindset, I don't care if nothing is riba or is halal. I gotta do what I gotta do. That's all. That's the only thing that matters to you. I want a good life. I want this. I want this one. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna do what I have to do for me. And you don't even consider the commandments of Allah, the limits of Allah. The companions used to say, it's as if you are marrying, as if you're marrying this world. So therefore, when you marry this world, what she wants for her dowry is your religion. And but you know, like any dowry, when you marry someone, they don't what? They don't give it back. It becomes hers. So therefore, we want to keep that in mind. That there's nothing wrong. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, that tansa nasibaka min ad-dunya. Don't forget about your portion of what? Of this world. So it's fine to have these nice things, provided that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, giving in charity and so on and so forth. But at the same time, don't make the dunya what? The begin all and the end all. And this is where the issue comes in at. Is that understood? طيب. So now we're going to mention the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that talks about how low this dunya is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have a hadith inside Sahih Muslim. In this particular hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he was walking in the suq, he passed by a marketplace. And within this marketplace, there was like a dead lamb. That not only was the lamb disfigured, They had like cuts in their ears and all these particular things. But everybody just left it there. Nobody wanted it. So the Prophet said to them, he went next to the lamb and he grabbed it by the ear. And he asked them, who would buy this for a dirham? Right? This one dirham. Who would buy this for a dirham? Some Messenger of Allah, how you gonna buy that for? That's a waste of money. So the Prophet said, who would take it for free? So Messenger of Allah, it's a waste of time. I won't buy it and I'm not taking it. You know people want stuff for free. He said, I'm not even taking that for free. Why? Because it's what? Not only is it dead, it's disfigured. I can't benefit from it. And then they also mentioned, وَلَوْ كَانَ الْحَيْء. And if it was alive, it's disfigured. I wouldn't even be attracted to something like that. And I couldn't sell it, and I don't even want to eat something looking like that. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Wallahi, by Allah, this world is more insignificant to Allah how this lamb is insignificant to you. Meaning it doesn't mean anything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This world is only a test for you. That is it. It is not for you to be comfortable. It is not for you to plan as if you're going to live forever. You will pass away and you will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the whole point of this dunya. I want everyone to look at the ayah in Surah Al-Mulk, 67, verse number 2. 67, verse number 2. Who has it? Uh-huh.
He who created death and life, that he may try which of you is best in deeds.
Stop. He who has created life and death to do what? To test you. To see who is best in what? In deeds. That's all this dunya is. This dunya is not for you to be so concerned about it as if you're going to remain here forever. It will come and it will what? Go. That's it. That's all this dunya is. So a person will be foolish to think to put the love of Allah or the deen of Allah over this what? Of this dunya. I also want to mention something before we continue, and I'll take questions and then we'll continue. But the companions as well, they used to say something. I want everyone to reflect on this, because sometimes with life, being a human being, your faith, it goes what? Up and that fluctuates. Let's be honest. Anyone who says that their iman has stayed the same forever, except for Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, they lie. Iman fluctuates, especially depending upon what? Your obedience to Allah. It increases with the obedience to who? Ar-Rahman. And it decreases with the obedience to who? Ash-Shaytan. Alright? So therefore, iman fluctuates. Your faith is going to fluctuate. Having said that, sometimes a person, they can become depressed. Let's be honest. It's an emotion. A person can become depressed. They start to feel like these problems are never going to what? End. I'm always going through these issues and so on and so forth. When people start talking like this, the companions, they had a beautiful statement that they were advised to. And I want you to remind yourself and also tell others who are not here. The companions, they used to say, Wallahi, I swear by Allah, Allah is not going to give you permanent problems for a temporary world. Y'all understand that? Allah is not going to give you permanent issues for a temporary world. It's going to eventually come to what? An end. And unfortunately, you will find people, we plan for things that we are totally unsure of. Some of us now, including myself, some of us now, we putting money to a side for a vacation in 2025 that might not even happen. But your death is going to happen. But you are not even that concerned enough to put forth good deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not even one. So we want to be mindful of that. And this is why the companion, he came to the Prophet and said, O Messenger of Allah, direct me to an action that if I do it, I can get the love of Allah and I can get the love of who? The people. طيب? So before we continue as far as what zuhd actually is, does anyone have any questions what we mentioned so far? Naam, Sheikh? You had your hand up?
Oh, no.
طيب. What's up? Nobody? طيب. So now, dealing with the issue of zuhd, we have a lot of people, once again, who say that zuhd, being abstinent from this dunya, they say it's staying away from things that you love. This is not necessarily true. A man came to Hassan al-Basri and he said that, oh, Hassan al-Basri, what do you think about a man who says he is never going to eat fish anymore because he can't thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the fish, so he's going to stay away from it? Hassan al-Basri, he said, هذا الرجل أحمق. This man is a fool, he's an idiot. Because did he thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the air that he breathes? Did he thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the milk that he drank from his mother? You will never be able to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything he has done what? Has done for you. So what does it mean to abstain from this dunya? Some of the scholars of Islam, they have mentioned the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he explains what being abstinent from this dunya is. And I want everyone to either write this down or think about it. It's mentioned that being abstinent in the dunya is not making things halal, haram for yourself. Alright? Again, it's not making things that are halal, haram for yourself. For an example, a person says, I don't know, I love to eat seafood, but I'm not going to eat it to show Allah that I'm staying away from the dunya. You're just wasting time. Alright? So it's not making something halal, haram, and it's not doing what? Being careful with spending your money. We explain the things that it's not. Again, it's not making something halal, haram, and it's not being careful with spending your money. Rather, I want everyone to think about this. Rather, abstaining from the dunya is that a person is absolutely sure that whatever Allah has is better than what? Not what I have. It's better than this dunya. And I'm not willing to do anything to risk that. Again, there's nothing wrong with having wealth. Person obtaining a good job, trying to marry a beautiful spouse, and so on and so forth. But once they have the mindset that this is better than what Allah has, فَقَدْ أَخْطَأَ, he made a huge mistake. You understand that? Yes, no? Yeah. This is in regards to abstaining from the dunya. Now, as for the advice of the Prophet ﷺ, where he told the man, because you asked about how to gain the love of the people, then it's also abstaining from what? Huh? The people's possessions, the wealth. Abstaining from their wealth. Meaning don't constantly ask for what? For money, for that which they have. If you do this, the people will love you. Now obviously, there may come a need where a person has to do what? Ask for help. But one of the interpretations of this is that a person does not make it a habit of doing what? Asking. Let me hold something, let me hold $5, let me hold this. Every time you turn around, he's doing what? Asking. Begging, got his hand out. Alright? You have another hadith where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the upper hand is better than what? The lower hand. Meaning to what? To give. So the actual understanding of this, to stay away from what the people have, is that what? Don't make it a habit of what? Asking the people for anything. And this is why you had the companions, sometimes they will refuse to ask the people for anything, and they will ask only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even for the littlest of things in our sight, they will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will stay away from asking the people. Because what happens with people, you're dealing with a human being. Eventually they may say yes, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time. Then the sixth time, they like, yo, if this joker asks me one more time, we're going to have some issues. Right or wrong? But notice that also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in another hadith, whoever does not ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for anything, he will get the anger of Allah. You're not dealing with a human being. You're dealing with Rabbul Alameen, the Lord of everything, who loves when you do what? When you ask him. Then Allah ghani, because Allah is what? Rich. He owns everything. So asking him, it's not an issue. Rather, he loves when you ask him, and becomes angry with him when you don't ask him. But as for the people, this is something totally different. So therefore, this is the Prophet ﷺ gave the man basic protocol. If you want to get the love of Allah, abstain from this dunya. We explained what abstaining from the dunya meant. It doesn't mean not marrying. As some people, we have another hadith where companions, they came to the Prophet, the house of the Prophet ﷺ, and they were inquiring about his ibadah, his worship. And the wives of the Prophet ﷺ told these group of men about the ibadah. They said it's not sufficient. Rather, one of them said, I'm going to fast and not do what? Not break my fast. The other man said, I'm going to stay away from what? Women. And the last man said what? I'm going to stand all night and do what? Right? And I'm not going to stop praying. The Prophet ﷺ became angry because these men had a misunderstanding of what staying away from this dunya is, or what worship is. And then you find that a lot of people, they have that misunderstanding. You have brothers, you have brothers or sisters, or even a sister says, I'm so focused on this deen, I ain't got time for a man. I ain't gonna get married. Or brother says the same thing. From the hadith, it's clear, brother said the same thing. I need to be focused on my Lord, so I ain't got time to get married. So you come up with this own false interpretation of what being religious is. And in the end, you end up harming yourself. And this is why it's important for the Muslim to be what? To be balanced. In the middle course. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, in the deen of Yusuf, that this religion is easy. And no one will never go to the extreme except that extremists will eventually do what? Overtake him. So therefore you have to be balanced, brothers and sisters, including myself. When it comes to the issue of this deen, when it also comes to the issue of the dunya. To be balanced. And as some of the companions he's mentioned, there's nothing wrong with having the love of money in your hand so long as not what? In your heart. Therefore, we don't want to fall underneath the threat of being punished by Allah because you are so enticed and love with this dunya. Well, you don't even know if you're going to live to see tomorrow or not. But you forget about Allah and you're willing to risk the pleasure of Allah for what? For this dunya. Is that understood? Inshallah ta'ala, just make a quick review before we end. Is that we said once again that al-ma'asiyah, right? Sins that people are willing to commit to gain the pleasure of people are how many types? Two types. The first type being what? Action or statement that would take a person what? Out of the fold of Islam. And then the second one being what? Action or statement that don't take him out of the fold of Islam, but it's a what? What is a major sin or what? A minor sin. Tayyib? Inshallah ta'ala, that we conclude with that, with the explanation of the 31st hadith. For those who I gave the book to, please bring it every class, every Monday, inshallah ta'ala. Is there any questions about what we mentioned so far?
Yeah, when you speak about the person who don't want to go to the extreme of being that person to say, well, I'm beating so much, I don't want to marry, or such and such. So what prevention would you tell a person to use to not to get to that point?
Well, first and foremost, you have, when dealing with the issue of marriage, it is, Islam, one, doesn't support celibacy, right? A person just abstaining from marriage, I don't want to get married, so on and so forth. It's highly encouraged. And even dealing with marriage, you have a time when it's mustahab, when it's recommended to get married, and you have a time where, regardless of how you feel, you need to get married, all right? And obviously the first time being where if a person, we are human beings, everybody has desires. But if a person can control their desires and still work and obtain a lifestyle and things like that and provide, then it's not necessarily obligatory that this person has to get married, because they're not committing sins, and they don't believe as well that what, by me not getting married, I'm going to do what? Get some extra type of ajr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the difference. So a person, once again, we're not saying that everybody has to be married. But the point is, if one, marriage is mustahab for this particular individual, is recommended, but they can still obtain a lifestyle. They're not out there committing sins. They're not looking at things they're not supposed to be looking at, so on and so forth. But they can just live a regular lifestyle. I'm okay. Right? And I don't believe by me not getting married, I'm going to get like this extra reward from Allah. That would be the difference. Now, a person who, for an example, they're saying, listen, I got this money, so I just don't want to get married. I just want to have fun until I'm about 35. Right? And they commit all these type of sins. They have boyfriend and girlfriend, and to the end of it, everyone knows the rest. Right? At this particular point, this person, what, has to be married. But also, we have the advice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the best advice we can have. Where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, "Ya ma'shar al-shabab, O youth, get married." And for those who cannot get married, to do what? Let them fast. Right? Because it will help them in regards to what? Abstaining from the haram. Abstaining from the haram. Now also, within the same hadith, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said fast, he meant a som haqiqi, like a real fast. Not, well, I ain't eating, but I'm still like, looking at stuff I'm supposed to be looking at. Right? Because it's counterproductive at that point. But a person actually trying to really fast is going to do what? It's going to aid him in this particular regard until he's able to do what? Until he's able to get married, inshallah ta'ala. Now, is there any questions? Anybody? Oh, it's clear what we mentioned. طيب, inshallah ta'ala. How much time do we have left?
About 10 minutes.
Tell you about 10 minutes, inshallah ta'ala. But there's no questions, inshallah. Then again, next week, what we want to do is, well, by the time we finish 40 hadith, like we gave the test for Ramadan, we do have a test for the 40 hadith that I want those who came, everybody's looking at me weird now, that I want you to take. All right, everyone has a test, I already typed it up, that you will have to take, inshallah ta'ala. All right, before we actually go to something else. And the reason why is because I want us to actually benefit from what we learn, inshallah, not just going through a book or just going through a hadith and then we just do something else. But I want to know that we actually are benefiting, inshallah ta'ala. All right? So if that's it, subhanahu wa ta'ala, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Huh? Yes. Of all 40 hadith. Huh?
No.
No.
About 10 minutes more.
Yeah, about 10 minutes more. Also, you know what this book is? I'll bring it up. You need it or you good?